watching this later on our YouTube channel, you probably just saw this really cool intro and some great music. If you're watching it live now, just pretend that you saw that. We're actually coming to you live tonight from Ceviche in downtown Alpharetta. I'm your host, Bill Wheeler, and as always, to my left, our esteemed guest is your Milton High School head football coach, Coach Coach Clack. Coach, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
And, oh, by the way, this just in from our news desk. Your Milton Eagles have started the season 2-0.
Yay!
Coach, what an awesome start. We've got to sit through two really exciting, very different football games. But let's talk about where you see this team now. You guys just, you got a couple of weeks under your belt with real football. How are you feeling about where the team is? What are you excited about? Where are their heads?
Yeah, definitely excited. Always good to start off with wins. 2-0 is a great place to be, hard place to be, especially when you play the two types of teams that we played. Obviously still going through growing pains and lessons to be learned early in the season, as you will throughout the year. But felt very good to be able to come out of the gates against such an opponent like Archer, to play what I thought was a relatively clean game for any point of the season, much less game one on that stage. Win, lose, or draw, I took more away from that game, the fact that we were just ready to play meaningful football against a great competitor. I couldn't ask for a more exciting game. It was 48 minutes all the way down to the wire. From the opening kickoff to the final kneel down, it was just a heck of a battle between two really good teams. So very proud of that. Then you come back, quick turnaround against a huge rival. It's their first game of the year. Really wanted to make sure the guys understood, like, they prepped all summer for you, right? They don't care that you've just knocked off Archer. This is Alpharetta, and they're going to give you the best shot. Our challenge is going to be to eliminate the distractions. Theme of the week this past week was focus. Even though I felt like we had some work to do in that category, I still hope that maybe that emphasis early in the week allowed us to keep it together in just an unbelievably emotional game. And so, with the past victory and then the big events coming up, and you still got a huge crosstown rival right there, so just a great test on many different levels for our team and our boys and our coaches.
Fantastic. So we're gonna cover a lot tonight. We're gonna cover both football games, and then obviously look at some of the stuff that we have coming up in front of us. But Coach, let's start with Archer. Big game, big stage. What did you see in your team in that game? I mean, obviously you had to take a bus ride down to a big stadium, walk out on the field with a bunch of people and a bunch of seats. How'd your team handle all that?
Yeah, we talked a lot about that week about courage. The courage to compete, and last year's team, was last year's team, but I still challenge the guys, like, you're in this stage because of the competitive spirit that team had. What I want to see first and foremost, are you going to flinch? Are you going to listen to the newspaper clippings and the presses and all that stuff about all their good players and what they're supposed to be? Are you going to get blinded by the big stage? If we want to be the type of thing we want to be, we've got to be able to play on that stage. And that was the number one takeaway. We didn't flinch. We came out ready to play. Number two, obviously, was just the execution of the game plan. Offensively, we were very specific in what we wanted to do. Didn't want to give them an opportunity for big plays. They thrive on you getting behind the chains and giving them something that they can pick off in the back end and take it to the house, get you in bad situations and shorten the field. So we wanted to play good, clean ball on offense, mistake-free. Never put our defense on the short field because I thought. From what I saw, I thought it'd be very difficult for them to drive the field on us. That first drive they came out and they took it to us a little bit, but we stiffened up at the 6-yard line and they missed the field goal. Yep. So it's kind of testament to what we believe in right there, and we were able to answer. I think one of the biggest drives of the game was that very first one because defense was tired. They just had a bunch of plays, got run at real hard, and we were able to give them a break there and build some confidence that, hey, we're in this fight for the long haul.
So that was a great defensive stand on that first drive. Obviously, they had a nice march down the field. Yep. Tried a 26-yard field goal, got away from it, and you got the ball back. you drove the ball right back down the field on them. Of course, they stopped us on downs, but at that point in the football game, we all really felt like we matched up well against these guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of the point. You wanted to be able to answer that drive. Make them pay for missing that field goal. Don't just give them the ball right back. If you remember later in the game, we go for it on a 4th and goal. We don't get it, but the defense turns around 3 and outs. Right, we get the ball right back on the 45 and we score in 2 plays. So being able to answer drives and being able to kind of swing that momentum back is huge, especially in an early game like that where not that the boys gave me any reason to think that they didn't belong, but they drive it down and then we turn around and get right back to them. You might have some doubt set in there. So I agree with you. I think from that opening bout right there, that exchange, I think football just started happening after that.
Yep.
It was just 2 teams out there playing.
Yeah, that was a great battle in the first quarter. And, to come out of that, there were some big plays. There were some great defensive plays. I know we had a sack to stop a drive. Their second drive rather, we had a sack. I know both Alan Walker and Marcos Rangel had sacks in the game and really played well at their position. But when we got down a score, what did you see in your team? I mean, they came down. They had a big pass play, a 45-yard pass play, and then a 17-yard TD. But the good news is they missed the extra point. And I think a lot of us were sitting there going, that could be a big deal in this game. But where was your team at that point?
They were fine. Like I said, there was a lot of bang plays and calls in that game. And what was cool to see is our guys never hung their head, from the pass that was caught where, was there a push off? Was there something like that? To the fumble later in the game, that was obvious, but the guys never dropped their heads on that. We always talk about that next play mentality. Honestly, it's funny as it sounds. We talked about it in the week. The holistic game plan was, we were looking for 35 quality plays in the first half. I wasn't really worried about the points in that realm, as oddly as that may sound. It was just about, let's make sure we're getting those body blows, to use a boxing analogy. And as long as we keep it close in that first half and let the football game come to us, I felt very confident in our conditioning, felt very confident in our ability to move them laterally, soften them up a little bit. So as they score there, with just 3 minutes to go, we know we're going into halftime unless we make a big mistake right there in a real tight ball game. Our mentality with that drive, as a matter of fact, wasn't necessarily to, hey, let's get 2-0 and let's steam down there. We wanted to make sure they didn't have another drive. So that's one reason why you might have saw, got kind of down, cutting it close there. And then the scoreboard showed 2 timeouts. We only had 1 timeout. So yeah, we almost got it too close, right? But we were able to sustain that drive, and then Jordan makes a heck of a play scrambling and finding
great play. Let's talk more about that drive. I mean, I think it started off fantastically where Sire Waters has that 24-yard run to get us out to the 35, to start us off. We'll talk more about kickoff returns. That's been great for us, both sides so far this year. But then you got Josh Edwards rips off a 22-yard run to get us down to their 31. Jordan Yates hits Jack Rhodes on a 20-yard pass play. Talk about that play. I mean, that was an easy pass to Jack, but yet he turned it up, broke 2 tackles, and got some extra yards out of it.
Well, it's funny. I mean, again, I go back to almost like a pitch count. When we talked about that specific play number of 35 plays and a half is a lot. And the plays that we were doing, they weren't just straight ahead, cloud and dust things. Even though they may only got 3 or 4 yards, we're sprinting left, we're sprinting right. We're really stressing their legs, and I think you saw that at the end of the second quarter. Josh's legs are fresher than their legs, and he starts breaking those tackles. I mean, what a heck of a run! You see the pass play you're talking about. You see Rhodes make that catch and put his foot in the ground. The guy falls down, right? He falls off from him. To me, that happens because of tired legs. and that just kind of showed that, hey, we're right on page here. And then again, Jordan being able to scramble back against the grain, and those two guys aren't able to redirect with him. And so I think that was kind of testament to the body blows, like I said earlier, that we were given all first and second quarter.
Yeah, good to see Rhodes on both sides of the ball as well. So let's talk about the touchdown play. It looked like just a great instant reaction to something that got shut down by their defense.
Right.
So I don't know exactly what the play was, but obviously we're going to the left with Yates, and they cut the corner off. He instantly stops, and his receiver Shaw's got to know what's going on. What happened there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you kind of summed it up. We work what we call a scramble drill. You know, probably should work it more, but we've worked it, you know, from time to time where receivers have to react to all of a sudden the quarterback's going, you know, a board, you know, going a different way, and you need to go find a way to get in his vision. And what an awesome instinctual play by Holden there. You know, Yates just, like I said, we were scrambling left, right-handed quarterback scrambling left. Sometimes it's a little harder, spreading left. Didn't get the edge, so you know he just makes an instinctual play to put his foot in the ground, go the other way. And then had the savvy to keep his eyes downfield and see Holden streaking back corner. And what a throw catch, man. It was awesome.
Unbelievable. And I will tell you that it was electric in the stands. I mean, it changed the whole demeanor of the halftime. And we've gone into halftime, you know, down 6-0 with a chance to have scored at the end. It would have been a very different game. How was your team in the locker room at halftime?
Funny you say that, because every answer creates a new problem, right? So, you know, pretty good mindset either way. I actually did start worrying, like, hey, it's just 1 point. You know, it's only 7-6. You know, we haven't won this game yet. They're not going away. So I was really more about, hey, you should have all the confidence in the world. You should also understand it is about to be another grueling 24 minutes. We better come ready to play in the second half, because they're going to come at us hard.
Were there any adjustments you made at halftime, or did you feel good about what you were doing and about to keep executing?
Yeah, it was. I think we felt really good with the game plan going in, and it really felt more validated than needing to adjust. We didn't really change anything. Just kind of went back and analyzed what was really getting the most bang for our buck, if you will. And the one small adjustment though was we did try to get the ball handed off more. You know, we didn't want to burn up 13 too much. He was on the verge of cramping at halftime, but you know he takes care of himself real well and took care of himself at halftime. So we wanted to make sure we were very selective, kind of going in that second half, so that we made sure we had our quarterback in the fourth quarter.
So you come back out, we get the ball, get a good start again. Sire Waters gets us out to the 40-yard line, and we just pound it down the field. I mean, it was just pound, get all the way down to the 2-yard line and can't convert. It seemed like a missed opportunity at that point. What went on in those last few plays? What were you trying to get done there, obviously, than just getting it in the end zone?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of what you're saying. We stuck with what was working and came out a lot of the same, and pounded it down there, and you know, felt good about the opportunity to score. I mean, your 4th and goal inside the 2. We had missed a field goal earlier. Knew that we were going to need touchdowns. Felt good about the play call. Had a little maybe confusion on the execution, and you know, they're a great team, man. And that number 7, Wooten, for the other side, he's going to play big time football for a reason. I tip my cap to him. We thought we could kind of take him out of the game and wear him down, but he just kept coming. He made a heck of a play. He did it twice to us on 4th down. You know, but with that being said, you put an offense that had trouble moving the ball in a very tough spot there when they get it on when they get it on the 1-yard line coming out.
Yeah, look, it's tough to watch, right? I mean, but when you look at their defense and the returners that they have from last year and all the experience they have from last year, they shut teams down last year. They gave up 78 yards on average rushing last year. You guys topped that. So that what seemed like a missed opportunity turned around very quickly. We stopped them, and then shut them down 3 and out. They gave up the ball back to us, and then bang, there goes Jordan.
It's hard to say, but you know, hindsight, kicking the field goal there still might not have been the right call, because you kick the field goal, you give them a break, and they get to return it out. So defense, we talked about this today. you know, kind of our sudden change mentality, meaning, you know, if there's a turnover, if there's a 4 down that we don't convert, we want our defense to see that as a badge of honor and go out there and rise to that occasion, get it right back. You know, I'm doing that because I have confidence in you guys. You got to have my back as the coach. You got to have the offense's back. And when that happens, you see it kind of build confidence both ways. And so when they get the 3 and out, they get the punt. I mean, I think the offense probably as confident as they could be, you know, score on the second play.
Yep. That's exactly right. And that play, well, that was just a lot of athleticism on that play.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he reads it, he cuts up the middle, makes 7 or 9 moves, however many it was, and off he goes around the corner.
Yeah.
What did he see in that play?
Well, honestly, I think it's our best football play. I think it's one of the best plays in football if you have a mobile quarterback. It's called power read. We got the back flashing across. He basically, if he gets it, he's running a sweep around the edge. We'll read the defensive end on that. If the defensive end takes the back, Jordan pulls it behind a block, behind a guard, pulling around. It's a very, very difficult play to stop. You know, it's got some risk to it as well. You got an exchange and all those type of things. But when you got that type of athleticism and you're stretching the defense laterally and then you take it off vertically, it can have explosive ability, and that's what happened.
Did it make you a little nervous when he took off from the 5-yard line?
Yeah, it's funny. I had some of the guys over for dinner, and we had it on, and we were watching it. And he goes, "Oh, here's the play." And they go, "Man, you jumped from the 5." I said, "You jumped from the 5." And then I look back, and sure enough, man, I think Coach Smith's going to have him out triple jumping next year. That was impressive.
That was impressive. Just protect the collarbone on that. What you got to do. So after that, we got a chance to see how good their receiver, Braylon Weems, is. They came back, drove the ball down the field, hit him for a 23-yard touchdown. He's a talented young man. What did you guys have to do to game plan against Weems?
Yeah, you know, he is very talented. They got talented guys all across the field. I mean, they have good backs. They got a savvy quarterback who, you know, makes good decisions. You know, he hits the open receiver, and then, just like you said, man, you just got to be. Our big thing was we wanted to try to eliminate the explosive plays. We knew they were going to get some, right? We just want to make sure we tackled them and make them play another play. And we limited that to a couple of plays, you know. And a couple times our guys were right in position. I mean, both of those touchdowns we had guys in great position. You know, the quarterback and the receiver made great plays. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap.
Yeah. Well, and then to finish that drive off, obviously they went for 2, trying to get back to even, and did convert. That was a big play.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was to me a pivotal point in the game. You know, talk about each game. There's normally 5 plays, right? There's five plays, 5 moments that stand out that really tilt a game. That was definitely one of those 5, and I commended you know, JD on that one. That's that sudden change mindset in a way, right? They score a touchdown. Are you gonna you know, be upset, not be ready for the next play? Young man goes out and just makes a great play on the slant. Receiver falls down, gets bumped down, whatever you want to call it. But that was huge. I mean, it was the difference in the ballgame.
Absolutely. The next series may have been the best series we had, but at the same time the least interesting. I mean, we just pounded it down the field on that the next series. I mean, it was just one rush after another, and then we get down to the end and Yates runs it in for a 3-yard touchdown. It just really felt like at that point we were physically taking control of the football game.
But again, yeah, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. Just we trusted that if we can get enough of those plays in, you know, utilizing one of our weapons, our offensive weapons of you know, having a mobile quarterback. You know, we utilized a lot of tight ends and fullback sets. You know, just kind of continue to get fresh guys on the field, rolling a lot of guys. You know, we did run the ball much more than we threw it, but we still threw it enough. You know, on that drive you're talking about was a huge 4th and 2 that we sprint out and complete a pass on. You know, so it was just I always talk about balance not being 50-50. Balance is just having the element of running past in each situation.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting call, Coach. It's 4th and 1, and we get Yates out on the corner and hit Shaw on a quick little 9-yard out. Seemed to take a lot of guts to call that play after we've just been pounding it down the field.
Yeah, well, we had a couple of 4th and shorts that we didn't get, right? So they were really selling out to kind of squeezing the interior there, you know, like on the goal line and then on the early 4th down, that first drive. So we felt like we could get the edge. It's a very safe play for us. It's something that we work a lot. You know, we call it touchdown. I mean, it's a man beater concept where we've got an inside receiver rubbing off of an outside receiver, and you know, I feel as confident pitching and catching that and executing that as anything we do. So guys executed it great. Again, the moment wasn't too big, you know. So you know, just the right play call at the right time.
So there was some interesting stuff that happened in the last couple of series, obviously, in that game, but just to stick with that ground and pound series that you had for that touchdown to go up 21-12. In our last show, we talked about your offensive line. You got some experience on the offensive line, but not the size you had last year. Obviously, you're looking at Archer, that's got a big, strong, physical, vast defensive line. I sensed a quiet confidence about you in our last meeting, and you and I have talked about how you're getting other positions involved to scheme and to get on specific guys. That just seemed to work really, really well in this game, particularly on that drive.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we're still, you know, molding and growing and working, and you know, the zone scheme that we have. You need some consistency there, and it's going to take time. And every offensive line, you know, whether you got experience or what, it's going to take time. That position group develops more than probably any group throughout the season. But yes, having a quarterback that can move and run, you know, with good running backs, and the scheme that we have, we can choose to read certain guys. We could read their best D lineman if we wanted to. You know, then incorporate some tight ends. You know, make defenses a little more predictable. If you just get out there and what's called 10 personnel, meaning just 4 receivers and no tight ends, no fullbacks, man, those guys, they're all over the place, and it was going to be really tough for us to kind of predict. So we made them a little more predictable, which allows us to, you know, maybe put some of our more seasoned guys on key blocks. Or give us the ability to read a defender that we feel like we're going to have a lot of trouble with. And I just think that was, you know, kind of a testament to the plan that went in, and then the execution of the boys to carry it out.
So you go into the next series, you got a 2-score lead with a little over 7.5 minutes left to go in the game. But you had an interesting incident happen on that series, and I wanted to get your perspective on how your team responded, how your coaches responded, what the sideline was like. They fumbled the football. Clearly a fumble. It was called down. Now, many of us got the opportunity to look up on the big screen and see that it was clearly a fumble. Yeah. And many of us reacted to that. But as I looked out at the sidelines, I didn't see a lot of reaction on the sidelines. It felt to me like you guys were just next play.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we talk about. I bring that saying up again because we say it a lot. Sudden change, you know, we do it throughout practice. I'll make bad calls on purpose sometimes in compete period and say, get over it. You know, it's going to happen. And it's just that next play mindset. You can't control that. You know, it's not going to do you any good to lose your composure and go nuts and all that. And I'll be honest with you, in a weird way, in a very weird way, I was like, good. And it's something for us to overcome. It was another great learning moment in a game that at the end of the day, other than getting better from it, it doesn't mean a whole lot. You know, it's not a region game. So hopefully that helps us be ready to respond to a bad play or you know, a bad call, or you know, coach making a big mistake, whatever. You know, our guys learn to just play the next play.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, Russ sitting in the stands, he felt the doom and gloom. Could this be it? Could this be the play that kills us, right? Because they go down the field, they end up obviously scoring a touchdown. Weems again, 7 yards over the middle. after Andrew Booth broke off one for 27 on us. So now we got the ball back. And we got the ball back at not terrible position, but our worst position of the game, 23-yard line, and we go backwards. And we go backwards quickly, and we give them some time left.
Yep. You know, it happened again last Friday night too. You know, 4-minute offense is something that we really try to work on. Obviously, we probably haven't worked on it as much as we need to yet. Because 4-minute offense means, hey, we've got the ball in the position to put the game away, right? You have 4-minute offense where you're trying to kill the clock. You got 2-minute offense when you're behind and you're trying to beat the clock, right? So, you know, there's obviously some coaching points and things that we talk with the guys about. You know, not running out of bounds, not fighting necessarily for the extra yard because you got to focus on ball security. But what you know is that the defense knows that too, and that's what makes it so hard. So your execution has to be, you know, on a 10 there. If you're going to run it, and they know you're going to run it, and you know, that's not an excuse. It's just an actuality, and I think that kind of led to it a little bit. And yeah, we 3 and out of there and forced a punt. In that moment, you're thinking, okay, the worst thing that could happen here, they have issues kicking the ball. They can't block this. So we chose to rugby style it. Obviously, you want more room than on the hash, but just getting that ball off was all that I was concerned in that moment. You know, we get 20 yards on it, 15, 20 yards, but
that's all we need to say about that, Coach.
15, 20 yards. But hey, a block there and the game's over. You know, so we got it off, and then it was just time for our defense to step up again.
Well, look, your kids, your defense responded incredibly well. You know, we give them the ball on the 37-yard line and then bang, a sack, 9-yard loss. That's a huge play for us.
But they had nothing. They should have been confident. I mean, you in a game like that, and you know they've only scored 20 points or whatever, and you know there's no reason to think that they can't do it again. You know, and again, their scores didn't come easy. You know, they had one, the one you alluded to. I mean, they got 2 shots at that one, right? The earlier touchdowns, those were excellent executed plays on their behalf. They made that happen. So no reason to think that our defense can come up and make them earn it again.
So the rest is history. They throw 3 incomplete passes. We get the ball, take a couple of knees.
Best play in football.
Big win. Yeah. Big win. The ride back home had to be fun. I would imagine.
And we were all a little tired. It was a lot of fun. It felt good to be able to get on that stage and do what we did. But, you know, our goal this season wasn't to win the Corky Kill, and that's not the ultimate goal. It's a step in the journey, and I think more than anything, I hope I'm correct in this, that it just makes us more excited to get back to work.
Well done. Let's talk about some of our stat leaders for that game. Obviously on the ground, a very impressive night. Rushing, we had 226 yards against Archer. Unbelievable. I mean, these guys held teams to less than 80 yards a game rushing last year.
Yeah, I think they gave up 1 rusher over 78 yards last year. We had 2. We had 2 in the 90s with Josh Edwards and Mr. Yates. But then, you know, JD didn't have the ton of numbers, but he ripped off 4.8 a carry. You know, so we're hitting them with a lot of different weapons.
Yeah, Yates had 109 yards. Edwards, as you mentioned, 90. Jordan Davis, 27. So it was a great night on the ground for us. Now, when you look at passing, we had 81 yards passing. I think you knew going into this game, though, this probably wasn't going to be a balanced football game.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, we were going to start with the run and really try to do those things. And the thing is, it was working. So, you know, we were able to stick with it. Even in the kind of the third medium situations, if we knew we had 4 downs, we were willing to maybe sneak a run in there too, get it to 4th and manageable. But the thing that can't be undernoted, there were some huge timely passes. You know, some big conversions. You know, the Jack Rhodes one, the Holdshaw one. Jordan Cox had a couple of big ones. You know, so we definitely were able to keep some balance in that regard.
Yeah, those 81 yards were made up by Holdshaw. Obviously had 4 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown. It was a 14-yard touchdown. Still an incredible play. Cox had 2 catches for 22 yards. We'll obviously talk about him a little bit as it relates to Alpharetta. Rhodes 1 for 20, and Jordan Yates 1 for 9.
Yep.
What'd you see on that play?
Man, I wish we had worked what to do if the corner comes off, because we were streaking behind him. We just worked, we always carry a little gadget or two in the game. That's part of our identity. We've been pretty successful on them. And I tell you, the cornerback just made a really headsy play coming off. And still got a 9-yard gain out of it, though. And those things are purpose plays. You do something like that, you make people start to think, and you slow them down. Sometimes even if they don't necessarily work, they still work in a way that gives people things to think about.
Well, you had some big plays on both sides of the ball, and some great tackling stats. Joe Charleston coming out of his safety position, 15 total tackles, 6 of those were solo. Thought he played well, although he did have somebody get over the top of him. He was still playing pretty physical, and maybe he was thinking more run than pass most of the game.
Yeah, Joe's coming off the injury the off season, so that's the first time he's really been able to line up. Since last year, I think motions were going, and he was amped up. He was playing downhill all night. They kind of got us baited that one time on the heavy set where they play action. But what I like about that play is even though you're out of position, you hustle back to not make 2 mistakes. We talk with our DBs all the time. If somebody's behind you, you're not worried about the ball at that point. You're worried about getting to them. And he gets called with the pass interference there, but looking back at it, I'm not so sure. I think he might have actually gotten his hand on the ball, or the ball touched him before he touched the defender. You can face guard in high school as long as you don't touch them first. So either way, though, it was a headsy play to recover. So yeah, we're going to get caught out of position time or two, but you can't make that bigger mistake by just giving up on it and letting somebody execute a bigger play.
Well, combining solo and assisted tackles, you had 6 players over 10 or over. Charlie Keeney had another great game. He had 12 tackles, 4 solos. Jack Rhodes, at his new position, had 10 total. Stephen Michaels had a very solid game with 5 solo tackles. Jordan Davis, same, 8 solo tackles, 5 assists, 13 total tackles. A great defensive game, but I thought a real difference maker was Alan Walker coming off the edge.
Yep.
He really created some havoc back there, including a big sack for us.
Yeah, no, and he got, Coach recognized him as our player of the week on the defensive side. And, what we've been kind of, patiently and quietly confident about, with him in his new role, he's going to have the ability to really maximize his athleticism and his length. Something that he's been doing to us all season is back down balls, and that might have been one of the plays that goes most unnoticed. But on that first drive, they've got a guy wide open sitting there for a slant, and we bat it down. We get a piece of it. Huge play there, and then the pressure. Able to get pressure with 4 because we got guys like him and Xander and Marcos coming off the edges and really wreaking havoc on the quarterback. So yeah, just a collectively great effort of our defense. I think for both games we've talked about, any mistakes we've had have really been overcome by our pursuit and effort. We're really running to the ball well. I think very rare that you see one guy making a tackle. It's normally one guy there and a gang of others coming. And so that's just a mentality we want to have and be known for. And we practice hard at it, making those guys run to the ball.
Well, Coach, I know you said that winning the Cork and Kell was not the ultimate goal for this season. However, before the season, you and Coach Sly both were very clear about the fact we want to get Milton on bigger stages, this being one of those stages. So not only did we get the exposure, Coach, but you went in there, you beat the 25th ranked football team in the country, and you come out with a huge victory, both physically and morally, for our football team. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome game. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about what happened last Friday night. A little bit different football game. I think you go into Alpharetta, you go into your rival stadium. Emotions are high. A lot of things are going on. We're going to talk about some of those emotions that got out of hand in a couple of series, but it was certainly a really, really exciting and fun start to the game. Let's talk about that first play. So you got trips out to the right. You got a solo back to the left with Jordan Cox. And what happened on that play? Obviously, it looked like it was an RPO play. So Jordan saw something. Cox on the backside, I think he had press coverage and got over the top of his guy in about 4 steps. What did Jordan see on that read, and what happened on that play?
For football junkies, this play you could sit and spend 30 minutes talking about, because there's 4 options on this play. You said RPO, that's run pass option. So one of the first options is to hand it off, and you read the inside backer over the hole there, and you have your inside receiver, who was Dylan Leonard, would run what's called a stick route, just a little hitch. So if the inside linebacker takes the running back, he throws to a wide open guy right there in a nice easy pitch and catch. If that backer runs out to take the hitch, you hand it off, and you got numbers in the box. But what will happen is if the team rolls down on them, like they did, they covered all 3 receivers man to man. Now he's got a solo route on the backside, right? So that guy can convert a hitch to a fade depending on the alignment of the DB, and we know it's going to be one-on-one. You got somebody with the size and speed of Jordan Cox and somebody pressed up. It's actually a pretty high percentage. It's a very good risk to go ahead and throw that long ball right there. And the boys executed it to perfection, made the right reads, there's no hesitation, and the results an 80-yard touchdown to start a game off. And I don't know if you get much better than that.
Cox showed us that he's got some wheels too. Not only did he create separation early, but that separation continued down the field. What a great play. I do want to point out that Hayden Harrison made that kick, because I'm going to say that a lot over the next few minutes. So then we give them the ball back on a kickoff. They struggled. We did a great job, whether it was how we were kicking the ball or who we were kicking it to, but we put them in some really bad field position throughout the game on kickoffs. What were you guys planning? What were you trying to do there?
Well, I mean, kick it deep, cover it, but we put a lot of pride into our kickoff game, and we talk about TFLs, tackles for loss, right? Everybody understands that on the defensive side, if you tackle them behind the line of scrimmage. We talk about if we can get them inside that 20, that's a TFL, and you love starting a game off like that. I think we've done some creative things in our coverage game. I won't go into the details necessarily, but the guys are really understanding their assignments, going down and getting it done. And then, Hayden puts a good kick down inside the 5 with a little bit of hang time. We get down there and cover it. Sometimes we'll elect to kind of do what we call a sky kick and try and create some issues for people there.
So is that what that was? Because that was his highest hang time.
No, it wasn't. No, that was just a deep middle. But sometimes we'll go sky left, which we're trying to basically land the ball on the numbers on about the 20. Because what you can have there a lot of times is you can get confusion if you kick it just right, and the guy's even catching it, right? But we're sprinting down to cover that. It's pretty safe kickoff, especially if you got some explosiveness back there and you're worried about it. So guys have done a great job. I feel like we really won the kickoff game of our cover versus their cover, our return versus their return.
So they get the ball back. It wasn't long before the punt team was coming in. We get the ball in decent field position, 38-yard line. We hit Dylan Leonard for a 12-yard pass, hit him again for another 9 yards, and then we throw a pick.
Yep.
And then they come back, first play, 41-yard touchdown pass.
Right. Great call by them. They picked us. We just didn't execute the play, and they made us pay for it. Good thing we tackled them. I was happy about that. Forced them to make a play, and hey, again, you tip your cap sometimes, and when they use their momentum in a highly emotional game already. I think we'd already had something that's important. We already had the bench cleared already, or whatever. We had a little scuffle on the field, and they did a good call there. And again, we were right there. Shoot, Xander almost gets him. I believe he had about 4 guys holding him on that play, and we had 2 DBs right there to make the play, and just kind of dropped it in, and play the next down. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, as you said, emotions were high because in that next series, I call it the yellow flag series. I think the rest arms were tired after the end of that series. There were 9 personal foul penalties in that next series, 9 total penalties in that next series. But it ended in a field goal. And there was one personal foul call that I did want to ask you about, if you had a chance to go back and look at it. And that's with Josh Edwards when he lowered his head.
So it's funny, they were on the way over here, and then the NFL guys were talking about it. It's a point of emphasis in the league. It's a point of emphasis here. So we know on the defensive side you can't lead with the head, and they're really, really making a huge emphasis to protect the players, especially if they're defenseless. Doesn't matter if you're offense, defense. It could be on a special teams play. Anybody can be defenseless. They're also going to make a point of never using that helmet as a weapon. I think it's a call that could have gone either way. I definitely understand why the officials, threw the flag. I think sometimes it's tough on the back who runs with low leverage like Josh does, and he just wants to lower his pads and protect himself. We'll just have to kind of work with him on making sure he keeps that face up a little bit, because I think they're looking for the top of the head.
Right. Long story short, didn't kill you. You got down there, and Harrison kicks a 35-yard field goal for his first of the game. He had a phenomenal game Friday night. Harrison.
Now it was great to see him get on schedule. Just a tough one in Corky Kale that I know he'd love to have that. Something that's definitely in his range. But I talked to him during the week, and Hayden and I have a really good relationship. And I said, I just want to remind you what I told you last year. You can never lose a game for us. If we're kicking field goals, you're bailing us out. So don't ever think about it any other way. Just go out there, do what you do. And I can't coach you on the mechanics because I don't know enough. But just know mentality-wise, man, you'll never lose a game for me. You go out there and you just kick the ball best way you know how and have fun doing it.
Yeah. So they did us a favor. Then when we kicked back off to them, another personal foul penalty took them back to the 13-yard line. They went 3 and out. And then we were able to make some progress getting down the field. A big play, obviously, in that series. Jordan converts a 4th and 1 by ripping off a 19-yard run. And then Harrison again comes in and this time banks a 32-yard field goal. So at that point, we're up 13-7, and it feels like we're starting to shake off, some of the stuff that's going on. But emotions are still pretty high. There were a lot of personal foul penalties. How is your team responding at that point?
Yeah, I think for the most part, more of the personal fouls were on them. I think sometimes we may have said a few things that got us, but I didn't see the ripping of the helmets, the punching, the pushing, the extracurriculars that much. I felt like our kids were doing their best to dial it in. I will say though, and when I talked with the guys, I felt like it got us out of our game a little bit, because we made pretty much 0 to just a couple, what I would call unforced error penalties the week before, and we had more than we needed this week, whether it be a lineman issue. We had to delay a game that was not so much the play being in, it was our players being in. It was an alignment, trying to shift somebody over where they're supposed to be, and so just little things like that. And I think all of that kind of adds up to take your sharpness off, to take your focus off. And we definitely battled through it. Something that we'll continue to work on.
Good. So we shut them down again following series. We saw their punter got the ball in decent field position. It was 36, though. It was a big play. We had the ball on their 36-yard line, and Yates completes a pass to Jordan Cox for 14 yards. Had we not completed that pass, would you have punted in that situation from the 36?
So on our own 36?
On their 36.
On their 36? No, probably not. It would have depended on where it was. But feeling pretty good. We were averaging 8 yards a play. We averaged 8 yards a play that night. We felt good with our matchups. From that point, probably going for it, especially our defense playing well right there. So probably anything under 4th and 10 right there, I was probably going for it.
So we get the ball down to the 20, and Hayden Harrison picks another field goal. Did I mention, by the way, he had a pretty good game?
Hayden did all right for us last night. That's for sure.
Happened to be your leading scorer that night, by the way. 13 points.
13 points, 3 field goals.
Yep. Great game. So, look, there was a little bit of back and forth after that. I mean, we had a couple of turnovers by each team. I think we felt pretty good about where we are at the time, but they turned up a really good series on us and stuck one in the end zone on 4th and goal.
Yeah, that was, kind of backtracking off that. We get the ball, we got 2.5 minutes, we got 3 timeouts. We had trouble putting it in the end zone, so we kind of went to the bag of tricks there, and hindsight, wish I kind of would have had us go in a different direction, but we tried to hook and lateral. It been good to us in the past. We complete the curl. We're going to pitch it to hold it coming underneath, and we get hit. And so the ball's out. Gets kicked around, they scoop it, and I tell you, one thing I will note on that, even though they eventually score, I made a big point today, Holden Shaw, who was supposed to be getting the ball going the other way, hustles down and makes that tackle on the 2-yard line. We hold him to a fourth and goal on the 1-inch line, and they ultimately get it in, but that's effort that we preach about right there. And we definitely recognized him, and man, our defense was just, they were just right there, and again, the old Tom Brady quarterback sneak where he doesn't go up the middle, but he kind of takes it out the side right there and just executed nice. And it took us to half, and it's 16-14. Yep. But you got to think, their points come off a key, a trick play for them, and a trick play going wrong for us. And, so I still felt good about where we were. We were executing much better than they were. We're moving the ball much better than they were. Our defense is playing great. They don't need to look at the scoreboard. Just keep looking at what they're doing, play in and play out.
Well, thanks for bringing up the hook and ladder. I was going to let you slide on that one, Coach, but had it worked, it would have been a phenomenal play. He was coming around the corner right there. He would have been gone.
Again, that's one of those things. Every game, you're going to have things you wish you could take back. I think going for the shot there, definitely the right decision. You get the ball, you got them kind of reeling a little bit. You've had trouble, punching it in on drives. Maybe just a little more conservative shot next time in that situation.
Well, good point. And speaking of taking the shots, we had the ball with the final seconds left in the second half. Maybe a chance to throw the Hail Mary. Decided not to do it. What was your thinking there? Let's just go into halftime of the league?
Yeah, let's just go into halftime. It's been a sloppy first half. We went for went for a shot early. I mean, I could have used some timeouts there, and I didn't want that half to get away from us anymore. We still had the lead. We were still in control of that game. I didn't want a frustrated unit going back out there and doing something that could compound it there. We just needed to regroup. Looked at the boys at halftime, said, you got a 2-point lead, and we allowed them to stay in this thing. So nothing to worry about. No changes need to be made. Defense, keep going out there and playing hard and doing what you're doing. Offense, hey, just clean it up a little bit. Those 3 field goals will turn into 3 touchdowns.
Yep. Well, it's one of the things that, sometimes it just does work out, because it did. It came in the second half, you had to kick off to them. Some sloppy play and some great execution on their side. We did them on a 4-yard line, I believe. Starting their first series and a half, they go 3 and out. And then we march it right back down the field. Long drive, by the way, over 9-minute drive. Yates broke a 23-yarder on that one, and then, of course, finished it off with a 3-yard pass to Shaw. And Hayden Harrison made the extra point.
Right.
So we got a 23-14 lead at that point, and it really just looked like, again, we were physically controlling them at that point again.
I agree.
So the same continued. We might as well rinse and repeat, because we got them 3 and out. Another short run by Jordan to pick up a few yards, and then he hits Jordan Cox for a 23-yarder, his second touchdown of the game. And Hayden Harrison makes the extra point. And we're up 30-14. It almost felt like the game was over at that point.
Right. Then we punch it in again. Is it 37-14, or do they punch it in? I can't remember.
Actually, yes, we punched it in again. They tried the old fake punt on us.
Yeah,
They got the ball back in really good position.
That was another huge moment in the game right there. Really proud of the guys. We work obviously punt block, punt fake, and those type of things, and they've got very specific assignments. When we go safe, but it's all about holding your position, and really commending them today. That something we don't get a lot of time to work on. Right? You tell me you got it, and we won't really know until somebody tries us. But they were heads even. We were all over. And everybody was on their assignment, and that felt good. And I think we took it right from there and punched it in again. Started going ahead and rolling some guys there. I was a little disappointed. I felt like our focus dropped again. The game's in hand, but we want to put them away though. We don't want to have to come back like we did and say, well, hey, let's get back out there and make sure we put this thing away. So another coachable moment there. Something to learn from. Guys want to fight to get on the field. You get an opportunity. It doesn't matter when that time is. You got to be ready to go in, and I felt like we worked. That's definitely something that we're going to address this week and make sure those guys are ready to go. And again, in the 4-minute O, and I alluded to earlier, I felt like we were trying to get some other guys on the field, and there was some confusion. We get a substitution penalty there, and then 2 plays later, there's a fumble. Obviously a substitution penalty doesn't impact a fumble, but I think all those things impact each other. There's a collective energy on a team, and when you start feeling one group lack focus, another group lack focus, it starts to affect everybody. So that was definitely something we discussed today in our meetings. It's 48 minutes. It's 48 minutes. It doesn't matter. When you're on the field. If you're on that field, you're playing full focus, ready to go and execute your job. And we got to do a better job of closing some games out.
Yeah, look, I think to your point, that's a great learning moment. I mean, nobody's questioning trying to get guys playing time when you're up 37-14 with just over 4 minutes left in the game. I mean, that's exactly what you want to do as a coach. And you want to get these guys good experience. Now, they weren't swapping guys out.
Right.
They still had their first team in there, and they did break off a 42-yarder on us, and those kinds of things are going to happen. But you brought your first team D back in when they got the ball back after the fumble, and those guys, I think, got in there and were able to reset the tone and help close the game.
Yeah, and I honestly hated to do that. It wasn't a save face type of thing. It was I don't like the way this is going right now. So let's make sure we shut this down and let's get out of here. It's been turned into a long night, and like you said, tempers were flaring and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to see another onside kick. To me, that's the most dangerous game, the most dangerous play in football. So I wanted to shut it down. I wanted to go ahead and put it to bed, and that's what we did. We're going to be sitting here talking to you today, wondering how we let something slip away from us. I didn't want that to happen.
So, speaking of onside kick, you had your hands team out there a couple of times. They did a great job covering the football. How often do you get to practice that?
Once a week. And it's one of those things, honestly, you can practice it every day, all day. You just got to know where to line up. You got to know some key things about when to touch a ball, when it's got to go 10 yards. There are coaching points. That thing's going to take a hop and it's going to do something crazy. It's either going to do that or it's not. So I'm just proud of the guys that they're able to execute it. Again, that is your heart's in your throat on those plays, because that ball's going to bounce funny somewhere. And we did a good job of executing. I think there were some things that the guys executed on. The first one, we catch the high hop that we always talk about, and the second one, it actually does ricochet, but we're swarming the ball and we're able to get it there. So it was a good job by those guys.
So much more balanced game all around. 400. Let's see, almost 400 yards total. We've got 240 yards rushing, 174 passing, so a much more balanced game. I think you probably knew it was going to be like that going in. Certainly they didn't have the defensive backs that Archer did. Get the ball down the field a little bit more. Although, there were the turnovers, but, all in all, I thought the thing that I saw in that game is, one, your kicking team, your special teams made a huge difference. And that's such an important thing to teach young players. As you mentioned, it's always a handful of plays in a game, and the kicking team really stepped up. At the same time, you're playing against a rival, and things did get chippy. And there were kids, there was the bench clearing moment. But it never felt like our kids got out of control, like they lost their mind. Even with the turnovers or even with the personal fouls, it really felt like we felt our cool in that game. Is that the sense you got? And if so, I think you got to be really proud of those guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, we talk about, being a little sharper and playing a little cleaner and things like that, but all in all, with all the elements that game posed us, that I alluded to earlier, I am very proud of the way that they resolved, the way they stuck to it, and never really, like you said, they never really got come unglued. They never got outside their minds a little bit. So yeah, no, I think I'm definitely proud of them for that and their composure. And something we talk about a lot. We want to go out there. Our job is to play football. Our job isn't to go out and make everybody look at us and poke our chest out. And it's just not about that. So we want to be proud of how we play and not just the game itself, but the way we represent ourselves and the way we represent this community.
Any win over Alpharetta is a good win.
That's right.
Congratulations on the game. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about stats because, quite frankly, our stats are, we're not doing anything in a huge way from a stat perspective. We don't have 1,000 passing yards already or 1,000 rushing yards already or anything like that. But what it looks like we're doing is playing really sound, fundamental football. Our defense is putting us in great positions. Our special teams is performing well. Even though we're not running up all these huge offensive stats yet, we're just playing good on both sides of the ball. Solid football.
Yep. No, I think it'll, stats are stats. They'll come. We don't pride ourselves on trying to pile stats up. Now, if some do, that's great. All right, but we're going to go into a game plan with holistic game plan and then specific game plans and where are our matchups? How do we feature our guys the best way? How do we minimize their strengths or maximize their weaknesses? Some games it's going to, it may be something where we're slowing the ball down and shortening the game. Sometimes it might be us speeding the game up. Sometimes it might be us being very aggressive in our own territory. If the game plan calls for us to be in 4-down mode on our own 30, that's what the game plan calls for. And what that does is it speeds games up and it'll result in a lot of points. And I told our defense today, I said, the last thing I look at, honestly, is points per game from the defense because too many people have control of that. There's special teams, there's field position, there's offense. All I look at is how hard are we making it on them to effectively move the football. You let us worry about that, and then we have other ways that we measure those type of things. Are we tackling well? We got tackled, but I'm more worried about how many missed tackles do we have. So those stats will come. Some games we're going to call for us to air it out, and we've got some weapons out there. Some games we're going to call like the Archie game for us to pound the rock. So it's a week-to-week thing.
And it is fun to watch. Love how we've got so many kids contributing in these games, and as we talk about it on both sides of the ball, and it's not just the one-man show anymore. We've got a couple of decent running backs that are really grinding it, hitting guys hard. We're throwing the ball around. You get Big Dylan Leonard into the game this week, and we're spreading the ball around to our receivers. On the defensive side of the ball, we got lots of guys contributing, whether it's Michaels, sticking his nose in there, or Walker coming off the end, or Rhodes in a new position. Of course, our safeties, Keeney and Joe coming down. It's just really good, solid, fundamental football. It's fun to watch, Coach. Nice work. All right, let's look ahead. We got something big coming up this weekend. I don't know if anybody's heard of the event called the Freedom Bowl. Still looking for volunteers. That's my pitch. I do have an announcement that I have to make about that. Let me see here. Please see Brad or Shay at the end of the night if you haven't volunteered yet. Otherwise, you're going to get a job you don't want. But there's this decent team down in Fort Lauderdale called Cardinal Gibbons that's coming up to see us. Somebody told me they're bringing 1,000 fans with them. That ought to be fun.
Really?
I don't even know we got 1,000 hotel rooms in Alpharetta, but I think what's interesting about Cardinal Gibbons is I got to watch a little bit of film on him. They got a kid under center. Actually he's not under center, it's 4 yards back, but he looks a whole lot like the kid that we got competition.
Yep.
So their quarterback, Nick Scalzo, pretty good dual threat guy.
Absolutely. I've heard nothing but great things about him, and you know, a lot of people do. They use that comparison of him and Yates, and not only the way that they play, but you know, the way that they carry themselves. I think he's looked upon as their leader, and he can move around and make and create things with his legs. But he's definitely, from little film I've been able to see him on, he can make the throws too.
So they came out of a very tough loss last week to Miami Central. It was a great football team. Both of those teams are still ranked in the top 30, 35 in the country. We thought, hey, playing Archer, right? We're playing a ranked team. We're going into a big game on a big stage. We're going to see another one of those. How would you compare Cardinal Gibbons to Archer?
I think Archer really hangs his hat on the type of defense it plays, and not that Cardinal Gibbons doesn't play great defense too, but when you're looking at Archer, first thing that's going to jump off is their physicality and just kind of their how hard it is for teams to find any success on them. When you look at Cardinal Gibbons, the first thing that's going to jump out is the points that they can pile up in a hurry. They got a ton of athletes. Got Division I guys across the board on offense. In the back end of their secondary, we're going to see another really, really athletic secondary. Equally tall task, but it could be a different type of ball game than the backyard brawl we had with Archer. This could be a little more. This could be a little more fireworks than this one.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, they've got some speed. And by the way, for those of you that make it to the game, you're going to get to see quite a few kids that are going to get to play on Saturdays. So that's going to be a lot of fun. They do have a lot of speed. You mentioned this week. Your idea with the team is really around focus. What else are you theming this week with your team?
Well, kind of with the Freedom Bowl, we're talking all about service this week. Our themes come from our core values. And first week was courage, and that's our competitive toughness. And last week was focus, and that's about our relentless effort and our preparation and all that stuff. And this week's about our band of brothers, and then which I think fits in so well with the Freedom Bowl and what to me is the bigger thing about this event is not the football, it's using football to honor those men and women that serve our country and give us the freedom to do this. And so I want our boys to definitely embrace that and not only to help us be a better team and better football players, but that service and what we're recognizing the men and women for this event that we're getting lucky enough to host and play.
That's awesome. Well said. I think this is a great opportunity for Milton High School to get back on another one of those big stages, Coach. Best of luck to you this week. We are going to stick around for a few more minutes. I know it's getting late. We have a lot to cover tonight. Couldn't talk about everybody this evening, but we do want to spend a few minutes with your questions that you'll have for Coach. I know it was mentioned to me a couple of you already have questions that you wanted to write down. So I've got some paper and pens up here. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Whatever we didn't get to talk about, ask Coach next. Thanks for taking the time. A lot of fun. All right, so this is a chance for you guys to write down questions. I know we rushed it, so I got a couple of questions for you, Coach, from the audience. Always appreciate you taking the time to be candid with us and leave yourself open for the tough parent questions. But these ones I think are pretty easy. I mean, you've got in these first two games, we've seen a little bit of what's called, what somebody wrote, chippiness here. And the question is that more of a factor of who we've played, or is it who we are? Teams reacting to how we're playing a football game?
I think it's probably early to make that statement definitively. I can just kind of talk about the first major incident. Our running back gets slammed to the ground. I kind of hold the officials a little accountable on that one for the slow whistle. But as our running back or any of our skill guys or any of our players for that matter, get put in a situation like that, I want our guys to be there to have their back. And I commended Mr. Bentley on being there and a hell for being there to protect their running back. I wish they didn't extend their arms and get the 15-yard penalty, but I love the fact that our guys have each other's back, and that's something that I would never take away. Obviously, you want to do it, within control, and it's not, like I said earlier, it's not about, hey, look at me, watch me go try and be a tough guy. It's about, hey, let me go over here and get my guy as we're separating this and I'm protecting him. So stuff the other night, I think that was just the atmosphere. I actually think we handled ourselves pretty darn well with all that stuff going on. But as the season goes, we've got some A-type personalities on that field. And something that I don't necessarily think that you want to coach that out all the time. I love us being on an edge and playing with an edge and let people know that we're going to be here all night. Now, of course, you've got to temper that, and you've got to be within your own control. So, they said Larry Bird was one of the great trash talkers of all time. And he'd get under people's skin, but it was always on his terms. If he could get you out of your game, and get you off your game while he was in control, then that's an advantage that he has. Yep. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. So great question. I think early to tell, but definitely, I don't think football's played by a bunch of choir boys all the time.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever been a great football player that didn't have a type A personality. One of the things, though, I saw, and I actually had an Alpharetta parent make a comment to me about this. Our offensive line was getting down the field 10, 15 yards on a regular basis and still hitting guys, even though the play might have been behind them. And I actually had a comment made to me from one of the Alpharetta parents who took a little bit of offense to that. And my response was, spoken like somebody that's never been out on the football field before.
I say, go find a different game.
Yeah, I thought
that's fantastic when you got your offensive line down the field, getting after it, and that's what you want.
Absolutely. I thought those guys played a physical game and a non-stop game.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun. Okay, so this week we talked about the big event that we have coming up. It changes the routine for your team. You guys have got a lot of things you got to be doing on Friday as a team. There's some folks that are coming out and speaking and other events that are going on. What do you got to do this week to adjust your routine? Make sure that your kids are out there experiencing that, having fun, but keeping them focused on the job.
I don't think it'll be much of an issue at all. Monday through Thursday, there's really no change. That's what really matters. Now, obviously, game day, you've got your routine, but everything that we're doing that would put us kind of out of our routine is 9 to 1. And I think to me, it's probably going to be less taxing than a school day. So they're going to get the opportunity. It's not super early in the morning, but they can't sleep till noon. So we'll get them up and go through our activities from 9 to 1. Probably be able to grab them and show them a movie or something until it's time for the pregame meal. And then the good thing is we're home, so we'll just pretty much carry on a home day routine just 1 hour later. So we'll probably start our clock about 4:30 versus 3:30 because our game's at 8:30. So pregame meal and then we're going to do our thing.
Great. So to wrap it up, Coach, you come off 2 great wins. You're going into what arguably might be one of the biggest games that Milton's played in, as far as, it's an out-of-state game, it's a big event. You've got a big-time program coming in to play against us. How would you sum up the frame of mind that your football team is in right now?
I mean, if you're talking to them, they're really pretty even. I mean, you're waiting on them to kind of look back and talk about this and that, or even all summer. In the conditioning and the lifting, you throw things out like your Cardinal Gibbons is coming in here, or you're going to the Corky Kale, but you really don't hear them talk about it too much. And I think that's a testament to you guys. I think it's a testament to just their confidence in themselves. I really think they're embracing the opportunity to play these cool events and play these big teams and just enjoy it. And that's what it's all about. And that's why we wanted to do it. Football's about you know, a lot more than just a game, and you build in young men, but I think the better experience that we can create and give them, the more impactful all of it will be. And that's kind of what I feel like we're setting up here. And I hope they just really take it in and do embrace all the things that it has to offer.
Well, I hope so too, and it's exciting. And I think if this is going on in Fort Lauderdale right now, their coaches get the same question of, Coach, they just beat their crosstown rival. They just physically took it to Archer, the number 25 team in the country. How do you think you're going to handle those big Milton Eagles? So congratulations, Coach. It's been a heck of a start of the season. Best of luck. Can't wait to see you next time and talk about some more great games and some more wins.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for coming.
Great.